forget to subscribe.
Today is more of a philosophical video on the nature of dating in the world. Look at this beautiful view. You see the sunset over the Opera House. What a beautiful building. And you see an architect spent who knows how much time coming up with a way to design that. A man designed that, and men built it. And when you look at the harbour, all of these ferries, they were designed to make life easier, to get people from one side of the harbour to the other. And yes, they were, men drowned, probably hundreds of thousands of men drowned developing these boats, these ferries, these river cats, etc. Men did that. They built it. They risked their lives to get these, build these boats and make society more productive by being able to move cattle across the river, and then move stock, move resources, so I could build more and more bigger and better skyscrapers. These aren't the biggest ones, but on the other side of the harbour there's the casino. I think it's one of the biggest ones in the city now. But men designed these buildings and they risked their lives. Even this construction site right here, it is utter hell working on these construction sites. Dangers everywhere, and it's back-breaking labour that reduces the lifespan of the men that work on them. They're literally risking their lives to work in an industry that builds these massive buildings. They're breathing in dust that gets in their lungs. They get illnesses from that. They constantly getting injured. Rocks falling on them. They're climbing stairs that are, treading on nails. They're using machinery where they cut their fingers off. It's very common, And we look throughout the harbour, all the way through to, as you can see, the harbour bridge. My great-grandfather was a labourer on that, where he would sit up there and they'd use the steel. They'd heat up the steel and then throw the steel, red hot, fired up steel to someone else. Will grab it while balancing on that thing and then hammer it in. And even when we look at art, a lot of this art, men are sitting there spending their entire lives creating the art. Sure, there's some men that had mental illness and just confined themselves to their rooms, like off the top of my head, Vincent van Gogh springs to mind. Cut off his ear, was crazy, spent all his time. But there are also men in there that created art because something was driving them. And when you look, like all these pavers, they were laid by men. All these trees were put here. Men came up with ways to move these trees here and plant them right here. All of these buildings. What is driving men? That's kind of the question here for you guys. What is driving men to risk their lives? To risk their lives to build these skyscrapers? What drives them? Because I know that these days there are a lot of men out there that have kind of given up on society, and they're happy to play video games and forget about everything and not really push the needle forward because they're getting these artificial dopamine hits by playing video games at home. But the majority of men are out here risking their lives moving science, engineering, and doing back-breaking labor to move the needle forward. And what is driving them? Because most of the men that I know, a lot of it really isn't just, oh, I'm going to save the world. What's the payoff? Is it really the money, or what are they buying with the money? Well, my theory is that all of this was built by men trying to get some sort of status in society, trying to get some money in society, because they believe that once they design this opera house, once they build this skyscraper, once they get their PhD, once they become a multi-millionaire, once they design this jet cat, this ferry to get people across the river faster, the women in their lives will realize how valuable they are, and they'll get laid. I honestly believe that all of the technology, well, most of the technology and most of the breakthroughs in society that was built by men, because most of it was, most of these men, it's driven by them thinking, look, if I can just get a little bit more status, maybe I'll get laid. And if you go through the universities, there's guys that get PhDs trying to somehow get laid. And now we've hit a point where a lot of the most productive, the wealthy, successful, the guys that do the right thing in society are not getting that payoff that they used to get, because society has somewhat disadvantaged a lot of successful men. Now, when you look at it this way, if all of these there's hardworking men that are doing the laboring and the back-breaking laboring in these construction sites, it's like maybe 1 in 1,000 is a woman in there, and she's probably doing some paperwork. She's not doing the back-breaking labor on these buildings. The super intelligent men that come up with the engineering solutions to these boats, these jet cats, to get them bigger and faster and more efficient so they can carry more things across the water. And now lots of people, the architects, the artists that come up with beautiful architecture like the Opera House and find themselves in museums like this, I'd argue that the vast majority of the men, they're there trying to move the needle forward and make society a better place in the hopes of getting laid, getting a girlfriend, getting a wife, reproducing. And they think that status, money, power is the main way that they can do that. And so when you think about it, you're competing with guys that are in a race to the top to get as much success, much status, as much money. And now you've got guys that are not only making money, getting status, getting famous, and now they're spending 4 hours a day in the gym to get jacked. There's a constant arms race, and because of social media, we're far more aware of it, to build status, build success, get jacked. And that arms race is kind of getting out of control, to the point where, when you think about it, you're competing with these men. But people like myself, who, I'm not wealthy, I don't have a PhD, I'm not moving the needle forward like these guys these scientists, these engineers, and I'm not jacked. I've found a way, and there's quite a few other guys out there that, with dating advice and pickup and cold approach, they've found a way around all of that, a solution, a way to get around. Okay, well, maybe I don't need a PhD. I can get laid by using pickup techniques, learning proper cold approach skills. There's guys that are, instead of figuring out how to build the next opera house or the next harbour bridge or build the next ferry or build the next skyscraper, they're figuring out how to hack Tinder and how to hack social media and figuring out ways to beat everybody else by using other strategies. And so the basic message out there for you guys is, if you're in this arms race of education, you need 10 PhDs. You don't only need a PhD, you need more citations and more first authorships in high-ranking journals. You don't just need $1 million, you need $100 million. You need a Bugatti. You need to have, you need to be able to bench, 150 kilos and have, massive shoulders and be super jacked. Now, if you're in that arms race, there is a point where you're over a certain threshold where it becomes the law of diminishing returns, where a lot of your success is just diminishing to the point where there are other hacks out there, and I would say that cold approach is one of those hacks. So whenever I look at society, I don't look at these massive buildings and think these guys had not only a passion for building these buildings and coming up with scientific breakthroughs, they also were driven to get laid, to get married, to reproduce. And when you look through a lot of the most famous, say, men that desired power, conquerors, you look at Genghis Khan, he reproduced his way through most of the planet. People say that he's related to a large percentage of the global population these days. Apparently Einstein was a bit of a degenerate. He used to sleep with a lot of women as well. These are scientists that are making breakthroughs. There's conquerors that took over massive parts of Europe. And then there's the average guy that is working super hard and then coming home and then spending all of his time in the gym. You think about the Arnold Schwarzeneggers out there. Apparently Arnold Schwarzenegger, not only a lot of his skeletons in the closet are coming out, where he's got illegitimate children scattered all over the place. A lot of and obviously we can talk about rappers and singers and basketball players that are famous, like Wilt Chamberlain, that slept with thousands of girls. A lot of the men that strive for success and to be the best of the best, in the back of their mind, they're just trying to get laid. And are you in that arms race that only not even the 1%, the 1% of the 1% can actually hit that elite level? And now we're at this, even though it's almost impossible for you to hit that elite level, you're still battling away. And are you wasting your time, your money and your energy in the diminishing returns of trying to hit that elite level without having the self-awareness that in reality you're just trying to get laid? And think about that. Think, okay, well, maybe it's time to get off the conveyor belt where I'm constantly trying to battle everybody else, and look for another way, an innovative way to beat the pack. And I would say that my solution is cold approach pickup. And it's not just cold approach, it's a whole bunch of other tactics and strategies that pickup dudes can teach you. But these are just my thoughts for today. What a beautiful afternoon. It is 20 degrees in Australia, and it is the middle of winter, the coldest time in winter. This is the coldest in Sydney. It's 20 degrees today. Beautiful blue sky. And you look around, there's even girls with mini skirts on still. So if you're one of those guys, have a look at what you're doing with your life and think, okay, maybe it's time to get off the treadmill. You've achieved enough. Let's actually solve this dating and relationship problem that you have. Top link in the description. Check out my website and check out what I get up to, and sign up to do some cold approach coaching. I'll see you guys in the next video.